My man,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm well.
I'm great, bro. Like I was saying to just talking to nobody before. Hopefully, we can just record this. I'll put it on the other account where a lot of people are going to see it because so many people were excited. And Instagram is afraid of the truth, apparently.
Yeah, it happened this morning. I had another live with another light worker, and we couldn't do it. He couldn't do it on his end. I couldn't do it on my end.
Yeah. Do
My
you? I
God.
was I was wondering why you were shadow banned if you don't talk about the C virus and the injection too much, but maybe they're just on to light workers in general because they know that that's who's pushing back against their agenda.
I had in the past when I first got Instagram 9 months ago. However, for the last 7 months, I've just been focusing on, disclosing a lot of cosmic intel, how it all kind of relates to the scenario that is unfolding now.
It really does. It really does. So let's get right into it, man. Our
For
Cosmic
sure.
Origins. That's the book. I haven't read it yet. I got it. I'm going to get it on Kindle. All the people that follow me, this is your type of stuff. They always love when I'm talking extraterrestrials and beings and aliens and just energy. I mean, everything is energy, and you know this.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to relate that to people that are maybe new to spirituality or in the religion trap where I try to sift out all the political nonsense and traps within commercialized religion and get to the spiritual roots of it.
Yeah.
So tell us about the book. Is this just years of you doing research or this is channeling and downloads and gnosis that you have? Where'd you get all this amazing information?
A little bit of both. I started getting downloads about 10 years ago. And I was like, where's this information coming from? Well, what happened was I started going deep into meditation to the point where I was going beyond passive meditation. I was going into active meditation where I started accessing the alpha brain state, the delta, the beta, the delta. And apparently, when I hit delta and gamma, I was tapping into some information that was just like, I was thinking I was crazy. I was like, why is this coming to me? I was starting to question it. And of course, I started following my intuition, and my intuition was telling me, do the research, do the research. So I started investigating. I started researching all kinds of stuff. People that were talking about the Galactic Federation, people that were talking about this and that, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this makes sense now. And then I started researching the highly classified information. Um, and that's when it just kind of all just clicked in, and that's when I said, wait a minute, this information is very real. I'm not crazy.
Yep.
So, you know,
Yeah, man. When the downloads match up to the research, then you're like, oh shit, I'm on to something. And
exactly,
that's when it feels
exactly.
good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have a similar story. I only started Instagram 9 or 10 months ago, just because of everything going on. And I had always gotten information like this, and I hadn't looked into anything and actually did the research until about a year or so ago, maybe a little bit more. And like I said, it's mind blowing when all the stuff that you have going on in your head matches up with what other people are saying. Because where I used to live, there was nobody to even have like a deep conversation like this with. So I never thought I was crazy or anything. People say that all the time, but it was just like easy to put on the back burner and dismiss it. And then like I start reading all these books and I'm like, oh shit, I have this information in my head. Like this is all this is real.
Right,
And then you
exactly.
go deeper and deeper. And I love how you were talking about active meditation versus passive. You're not just sitting there in a theta brain wave, you're going deeper and deeper, not only into yourself, but into the cosmos and the collective consciousness.
Yes, exactly. Because it's through our chakras that we're able to access these higher levels of consciousness. We have seven chakras within our body. Those are the seven major chakras. And then we have the five minor chakras that are outside our body. And it's really those chakras that connect us to the solar system, to the galactic rim or the galactic, logos, the galactic mind. And then eventually we connect to the universe once we access the 12th chakra. But yeah, that's very fascinating. I started tapping into information from Alcyon, the central sun of the Pleiadians, in which our solar system is the eighth missing sister. We're part of that cluster right now. After the first galactic war in Lyra, which I describe in great detail in my book. I mean, my book is a it's pretty much a detailed description of the galactic history, people, in great detail, from Lyra to Orion to the marriage that took place in Sirius, creating the royal bloodline of what we know of the Anunnaki Niburians, to
Mm-hmm.
the wars of the Pleiadians, and then finally how it reached our world during the first seeding, going back to Hyperborea, 2 civilizations prior before Atlantis. So I cover all that history in my book. It's 500
Awesome.
pages, but it's a wealth of information.
Awesome. That's the coolest shit to me, my man. And it seems like it's all coming to a head now. At least the end of this cycle. Let's not pretend like forever is forever, but it's all coming to a head at the end of the cycle for sure. And the coolest thing is it's all been prophesized. In the Bible, in Native American history, coming to the end of a Yuga cycle in Hinduism, all spiritual communities have talked about this time. I don't know if you're familiar with Dolores Cannon's work. She prepped all this, and you mentioned the Pleiades. I don't know.
I've studied everyone.
Everybody, I'm sure.
Everyone.
And it's all pointing to this time. Even stuff that was channeled and written in the 80s and 90s is like exactly coming true now. So we're so important, and that's why I was so grateful that we connected, because I've been a fan of your videos and stuff. And now the book is going to be so important, my man. So I hope everybody goes out and it's $20 well spent. And I will say that without, like I said, I haven't read it yet, but it's on my list. And just judging from your videos, you really know your stuff. So I would definitely back the book for anybody watching.
Let me turn on the light. I see that I have a shadow on my face.
Yeah, for real, because this is going to be a great video. Hopefully I can post it on the other site, and we got a good amount of people in the chat, so light will help for sure. You're in California, bro?
How's that? Better?
Way better. You're in California?
Okay. Yes, I am.
How is everything out there?
The weather's been kind of weird, because normally around this time we get heat wave after heat wave. But for whatever reason, whether it's hard, whether it's Mother Earth's elements reacting to the abuse that's that these corporations are inflicting on her, or whether it's just the cycle that we're in, where something huge is about to happen, something huge shift. For whatever reason, it's been cold over here. It's like a slight winter time when it's supposed to be at the peak of summer. So I'm just
I think it's all the above. I think it's all the above. There's a lot going down, and all that collective energy builds up.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
So here's the thing. I was singing this yesterday on a live with somebody else that gets it. There's basically like 4 types, because I'm taking it back to more one-on-one level, and then I'll let you go deep. There's 4 types of people that I was describing. I was like, there's people that don't think aliens or extraterrestrial beings are real, and I would say that that's not very intelligent of you to think that. Then there's people that would think that they are real, maybe, but they've never been to the Earth planet or plane. And I would say to them, you haven't done a lot of research, because that's pretty well out there. If you haven't contacted them yourself or had any channeling or downloads, it's not hard to do this research. Then there would be people that think they're all bad and all evil. And then there's people that think that they're all good and they're here to save us. So I would like to talk to you about that, right? Because none of those are true. All the above is not true. I would like to talk to you about the Galactic Federation as far as who's the good guys and who's the bad guys. Because in 3D space, that's always how we think about it, with duality and polarity and good versus evil and light versus dark, which are forces that are always working. But what kind of species and races are we dealing with that are of benefit to us and detriment to us?
Well, there's definitely a polarity in this whole thing. So you definitely have the benevolent ones and you have the malevolent ones.
Yes.
The benevolent ones, the good guys, are mainly associated with the Adam Cadmon body, which is the human physique, the torso, the arms, and the human face. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I talk about in my book is that we humans on Earth share a cosmic ancestry, where human-like beings exist throughout the entire multiverse and throughout the billions of galaxies. And so those are associated with the good guys, okay? The bad guys are the fallen angels, let's call them the Lizzies, whatever, Draco reptilians, I don't want to get in trouble here, but...
even those words are flagged?
Yeah, I was told that, I have to be very careful with what I share, because, nowadays it's like...
I mean, it's common sense if they're all dug into big tech and stuff like that, so we can say Lizzies and people will figure it out.
Okay, let's call them the Lizzies, the reptiles. So those are the bad guys. Those are what the Bible calls the fallen angels. And they do have a prevalent existence, not only in our galaxy, but throughout other galaxies. So, it's beyond that. We're also dealing with multiple universes.
Yeah.
So basically, the good aliens, or those that are here to assist us, are known as the Federation, or the Galactic Federation of Planets. They go by various names. When they originally formed the alliance, during the First Galactic War, going back to 500 million years ago, Earth time. They were known as the Confederation of Planets. So that's how the League of Star Nations began. And then eventually, as they started recruiting more star systems that were being afflicted by the Draconian Empire, who was also during those days expanding a galactic empire throughout the galaxy, they were all, they were banding together to create what is called the Galactic Federation of Free Worlds. So it shifted from the Confederation of Planets to the Galactic Federation of Free Worlds. And then that's when it was originally established about 4.5 to 5 million years ago in the Orion system, because that's where the Star Wars really took place, on a third dimensional level. So the good guys are the benevolent races. It's an alliance of different humanoid worlds that are working together to defeat this galactic tyranny. And from what I understand, according to my research, after millions of years of battling the Draco Empire, or the Orion Empire, because eventually the Draco did seduce some of these humanoids from the Lyra system and the Vega system to join him. And so, some of these humanoids became part of the dark agenda, and so collectively they became known as the Orion Empire. Okay. So basically the war between good and evil that we see here unfolding in our world is no other than a small reflection, rather a last play of a greater war that's been going on for 500 million years in our galaxy between the Federation of Free Worlds and the Draco-Orion Empire. So the bad guys are the Draco-Orion Empire. Now, they also work with other non-humanoid type of species, such as the Zetas and the Greys, which have been converted to the dark side. Originally, they weren't evil. And from what I understand, the Greys were actually once humanoid, who existed in a planet called Apex, which was part of the Lyra system 500 million years ago. And what happened was they were infiltrated from within, and they blew themselves up. It was a nuclear war that took place. So in order to prevent that nuclear war, they decided to dissolve their emotional body by deleting their sex organs. So eventually they resorted to cloning. And after a while, after millions of years of cloning, they started becoming more cybernetic, and they started losing their soul, as to why now they're time traveling back to our world, or their past, our presence, in order to abduct people, to create some sort of a hybrid vehicle between the Greys and the aliens, so that their species could once again continue existing. Because right now that race is dying off, but they used to be humanoid, according to my research.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And then the other races that are associated with the Draco-Orion Empire are, of course, the insectoids. We have the mantis. Yes. And they are very involved in the different programs of generic engineering programs that exist throughout the galaxy. Also, there's different various species of the insectoids, but the mantis are the main ones. Yeah. And then, of course, all the negative aliens, not only in our galaxy or in our universe, but in all the universes, actually have a superior that they answer to. And this superior is a very advanced cybernetic artificial intelligence that actually managed to evolve to the level of the 11th dimension. So it evolved beyond the physical. And so it became like a signal, it became a collective, like a cloud, an AI cloud. And then when they evolved to the 11th dimension, they were actually blocked off from the guardian races who protect the Stargates from the 12th dimension going up into the higher realms. Wow. So they don't have access to the 12th dimension. So they're pissed off about that. Right. They're pissed off because, it's almost like they hit a wall. Right. So basically, this AI cybernetic intelligence is what the negative aliens call the AI God. They call it's their God. We don't call it a God, because we know we answer to the one, the prime creator source, which is a living entity. But this AI God it doesn't have a soul. It's just pure intelligence that, managed to evolve all the way to the level of the 11th dimension. But it so happens that beyond the 11th dimension, you need to have a soul. You can't go beyond that. So they are the ones that are really wrecking all the havoc in all the different galaxies. And so the Dracos are just their minions. They're just doing the dirty work for this alien AI. Yeah,
that makes sense. So I got two questions for you. Were humans naturally evolved on this planet, and then the reptilians stumbled upon this planet through different dimensions and space travel, and then enslaved and took over humanity? Or were humans seeded here for this project?
Well, from what I understand, the original humans were seated in Lyra 500 million years ago. The first humans that came to exist in our galaxy were in the Lyra constellation in 3 planets. They were Avion, Avalon, and Apex. Those were the 3 different worlds that they seeded first, and then they gradually expanded. Yes, they also brought, when they expanded into other star systems, they eventually came to our solar system, but that wasn't until about maybe 30, 40 million years ago. And that's when they first seeded our world with the human race. So the human race in our solar system or in our planet goes back to 30, 40 million years ago.
Yeah.
That's when humanity first came into being here in our solar system. And during those days, they were also seeding, the entire solar system was seeded. We had human colonies on Mars. We had human colonies on Venus, believe it or not. There was another planet that existed between Mars and Jupiter, which is now the asteroid belt, called Tiamat, which was destroyed in one of the galactic wars when the war reached our solar system. And then there was another planet called Maldek, which actually existed. It was one of the jovial planets that existed in between Jupiter and Uranus, the last planet, and the outer ring. So that was like really the last planet. So now that's known as the Kuiper belt, because that was also destroyed during the galactic wars. Yep. So at one point, humanity was seated here throughout the entire solar system. Our entire solar system was positively interacting with other star nations, as they were also a part of the Galactic Federation of Free Worlds.
Sure. I mean, it still is, but like in a different way. So what happened to those other planets then? Like, why is there only human life on Earth in this solar system?
Well, for the most part, the 3rd and 4th dimensional worlds were destroyed by the Draco when they first arrived. And those that were more evolved, those that ascended to higher levels beyond the 5th dimension, still exist up until today on Jupiter, and on Venus. And in a higher dimension, they also exist in Mars. It's just that, we're only seeing it as a vacant planet because we're only piercing into the 3rd and 4th dimension.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've only experienced stuff like that during astral travel. I've even seen things on the surface of the sun because you don't have a physical body, and on the moon and stuff like that. So I was able to contact a lot of stuff like that. But, it's harder for me. You seem a lot more tapped in, so I'd rather ask you the deeper questions. But yeah, I've seen that. So there's not physical 3D humanoid forms on Mars anymore, let's say. But there certainly is in other dimensional energetic beings.
Yes, they exist in the 5th dimension and up, and also in Jupiter and in Saturn. They're heavily populated.
For sure. Yeah. Is Saturn mostly like negative beings still, that the powers that be on this planet are harnessing that evil energy, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. They tried to take over Saturn, but the Guardians of Councils prevented them when the Niburian Council was still operating for the Galactic Federation of Light. So what happened was eventually the regressive aliens that were operating from Saturn went to Mars. And so they've been in Mars, in the subterranean caverns of Mars, not in the surface world. They've been there kind of acting and running the show here on the Earth via the Draco, elite family connections. So from Mars, they've been kind of directing this whole suffering that's been going on for thousands of years here on this planet. But, their time is up. Their time is up, and they know that.
Hell yeah. And they know that. So, wow, I got so excited because their fucking time is up. And you see so many people, even light workers that know what's going on, they start getting down in the dumps because they get sucked into the traps of the news and friends and family taking the juice and giving up their soul to the devil. But as well as anybody else, we have to stay positive and we have to stay together and keep the vibration high, because that's exactly what they want. They want everybody in fear and scrambled and chaos and separation and divide and conquer nonsense. So my next question then is, the way I gathered it through downloads and like my readings and stuff is, they can't physically interact with, no, interact is the wrong word. They
can't physically interfere because of the galactic oath of the Prime Directive, which is non-interference. Yes.
Good. So I'm correct on that. Good. So basically what happens is the light aliens, or the good benevolent creatures, can kind of incarnate as human beings that are, whatever, your Jesuses, your Buddhas, your Martin Luther Kings, whomever, yourself, guys that are shining a lot of light and living at a high vibration and changing the collective consciousness. And then the evil powers that be can do things through media and celebrities and politicians and pull their
Exactly.
little puppet strings. So they can't
Yeah.
physically interfere, but they're using as many loopholes and tricks as they can to keep people in low vibrational frequencies to feed off of that negative energy.
Absolutely, you nailed it. That's exactly how it works.
That's
So
how I usually explain it.
even though we're only experiencing this war on a third dimensional level,
Right.
it's actually taking place on various dimensions.
Yes.
Beyond the physical.
Yes.
So those other dimensions that we can't see are the ones that are actually influencing.
Of course.
You know, down here on the earth, we're pawns of a bigger chess game. You know?
Yeah. So many people in this spiritual community or whatever are like, I'm a spiritual light being having a human experience. It's like, no, if you're doing it right, you're a multi-dimensional being having a multi-dimensional experience. And the powers that be know that shit, and they're feeding on stuff, which affects the three-dimensional. I've seen people they think they're eating right and they think they're exercising and stuff, and they have physical ailments because of spiritual stuff. You know, entities and beings that possess them and just being in a low vibrational frequency, having physical ailments because of stuff going on in other dimensions, like you were saying.
Yes, and those dimensions are not anywhere. They're not up that way or that way. They actually coexist within our space, people.
Yeah.
They're just vibrating on different frequencies. And that's what separates the dimension, is the rate of vibration. So if people raise their vibration as much as they can to a very high frequency, they're going to go beyond the veil. They're going to be able to pierce into the fourth and fifth level of reality. And fortunately, because of the times that we're living in, because we are ending four cycles, not just a 2,160-year cycle or a 5,000-year world age yuga, but a 25,000-year platonic year and a 206 million-year great central sun year, which is the revolution of Alcyon and Sirius, with our solar system going around the galactic hub. So we're culminating four cycles. And due to that, on a mass scale, when this shift takes place, when that solar flash, when that sun releases its final blast to trigger the collective to this fifth dimensional reality, then at that point, I mean, it's just, people are going to be able to see everything.
I love it. Well, not everybody. Some people are going to get left behind, you know what I mean?
Yeah, unfortunately.
And that's why the powers that be are hitting the gas on this they've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years, all their little tricks. And it seems like they know that this is coming. I don't know if they know the exact timeline or if you know the exact timeline. But either way, they are definitely pushing the fear, and all their tricks and propaganda is accelerating.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some questions in the comments that are fantastic, and I'll give my stab at it and
Sure.
then let you take over. People are talking about they're worried for their children, 6, 7, 8-year-old children making the shift. So if they keep their vibrational frequency high, they're worried about their friends and family, and more specifically, their children getting left behind and not making the shift. I would say that children have the easiest path to ascend, because before the age of 6, 7, or 8, they're not conditioned and brainwashed and programmed by these evil powers that be, and they have a closer connection to source. Children are very right-brained and heart-open and magical spiritual beings as it is before they get brainwashed by society and the matrix. So I think the children will be good as long as they're healthy. What's your take on that?
I agree. And also to understand, people, is that 1 out of every 3rd child is being born as an indigo right now. So almost every child is an indigo on the planet. So the majority of star children or star races are already children. I mean, the children are the majority of the star people on the earth. So by virtue of that, they're automatically going to make the shift, regardless if they get the vaccine or not. It's not even affecting their DNA.
Oh, even with the Jews. Wow.
Because these children are already born with a 3rd and 4th strand. Already
right. Okay.
They don't use a double helix. They use a 3rd and 4th helix.
Right.
And because of that, you know, none of the 3rd dimensional poison affects them. No nanotech, none of them. Yeah. So they have a free ride.
Okay. There you go. Okay.
Because they are the future.
Of course.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. So, and then people are asking about older children too, teenagers. It's basically the same deal. There's so many waves of souls that are incarnating as humans now, and people like you and I fighting this war and paving the way for them to lead the new earth in the future. So I love that. So a lot of the kids are going to be safe, and they're saying, how are the babies and the children going to be safe, and how do they raise their vibration? The same way you and I would. You know, healthy water, healthy food, healthy thoughts, healthy emotions, controlling your energy, protecting your energy from the powers that be, sending poisonous messages to them. and just living a happy life. And that's what humans are made to do, feel different emotions and create things. So children are usually good to go in my research.
Yeah, they're good to go.
Awesome. So what else? So is there a timeline as far as that, for the solar flash and the jump and the shift and all the things that everybody's talking about? Because like I said, the powers that be are planning on 2030 or even the next 2 years to lock everybody down with this merge of the AI technology and all that.
Right. Well, all indicators and all factors are pointing to no later than 2022, 23.
Yeah.
And but some people believe that it might even happen by the end of this year. So, I really don't know the exact date, but I feel it. I feel it's really close.
Me too, man. Me too. I really feel it, and that's all that matters. Is more than words we're making or words we're reading. Is the feeling of it. We mentioned before prophecies in different cultures and stuff like that. The Mayans and the Aztecs, the end of their long count. The Aztecs, it was this year, and the Mayans. Everybody talks about 2012. 2012 and 2021 is the same exact shit in numerology.
Absolutely,
it's
yes.
the same fucking number, guys. They didn't have the same calendar as us. It was a circular deal. So our linear numbers are not the same as their shit. So 2012 and 2021, December could be, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so according to the original timekeeping system, sacred calendars and, being preserved by the Mayan culture, but really going back to Egypt and Sumeria and Atlantis, all end this year, because the reason nothing happened 12 years ago when everybody thought it was 2012, it was because we used the Gregorian calendar, and the Gregorian calendar obviously is 12 years ahead because they don't use the right timekeeping system of 28 days and 13 months. Because technically that's the timekeeping system that is aligned with the natural cycles of the universe, and also it corresponds to the natural cycle, menstrual cycle of a woman.
I was going to say, you see the Mayan calendar and a lunar calendar, and you're like, makes so much more sense.
Yeah, so all the factors and all the indicators are pointing to this December.
To 2022, right, between this December and 2023, in between that time period, for sure.
No, this December.
Yeah, this December would be the Mayan prophecy, for sure, which is the same thing with biblical prophecies and everything else.
Exactly. But not only that, but it's even when this shift takes place. I mean, it's gonna take a few months for people to adapt to the new density, the new reality. So they're saying that maybe by 2022, Earth will already be in fully on a collective level on the fifth dimensional reality or plane of reality. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's why they're trying to slam on the brakes as much as they can with all their fear propaganda and all the things they're doing. That's pretty amazing. I see you're in great shape too. What I always like to give practical take-home tips for the people. What do you do for your 3D body as far as food, water, meditation, exercise, stuff like that?
Well, 1 second. Let me just turn up the light because I still see I'm not fully light. 1 second.
Sure.
I guess let me see if I get more lights. How's that? Better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely better.
Thank you. Well, for my physical being, I like to eat healthy. I mean, I eat only organic, lots of vegetables, lots of greens, lots of juices, superfoods, ashwagandha, spirulina, turmeric, acai, all the superfoods, reishi mushrooms, anything that is good for your body, that alkalizes your body, is healthy for you. I also like to work out every morning. That's my wake up. That's my go thing where I just, it starts my day in a good energetic, way where it's like I wake up, I go work out, and I'm like full of energy, and it's all natural energy. So that, to me, that's like my morning high. It's a natural high that I get when I work out. So just eat healthy and work out. Don't forget that your body's an extension of your soul. There's an electrical exchange taking place between your body and your spirit. Of course. So this whole idea of ascension is not that we're going to become these vaporous, etheric personalities. We're actually going to merge our spirit and all these other aspects of ourselves that exist in other frequencies, and we're going to collapse them into the here and the now with our body. So yes, we're still going to remain physical, and we're still going to have our sex organs. Because a lot of people say, are we still going to be able to have sex in the 5D reality? I'm like, yes. Physicality exists. Yeah, better too, because you're going to be connected to your whole consciousness.
Yep.
But I just want people to know that physicality exists all the way up to the 12th dimension.
Even physical in the 12th?
Yeah, it's a different type of matter, though. It's a matter that is more refined and purified. You know, we happen to have a gross type of matter that is mortal, that bleeds. But once you go into the 5th dimension, you start living for thousands of years. You know, you start using what is called the it's crystalline DNA as opposed to carbon-based. But then there's different levels of crystalline DNA. You know, then you have the 6th dimensional crystalline DNA, then you have the 7th dimensional, and the higher dimension that you attain while maintaining physical form, the more immortal you become. So it's once we reach the 12th dimension, that's when, you know, at that point you just live forever.
Yeah, at that point you're pretty much living forever. But I didn't think that there was a physical body past a certain point. So that's really cool to know. Because for some reason that's people are always talking about ascending and they hate the human form. I love the human form. I like what you said, where I want to assimilate the soul in the other dimensions and be physical and spiritual at the same time, because then you get everything. That's one of the greatest things about being human that other beings don't get to have. Some beings don't have physical form at all.
They don't.
So I'm really grateful for this ride, man, especially at this point in time. So many people are falling, because the people that know, this is what I see a lot of times, people that fall for all the media's tricks and are brainwashed into the matrix, they're living in fear for the most part, and they're in a low vibration. And that's their plan. But a lot of people that are awake and aware of this shit get sucked into the same traps because they're not being grateful for their life, and they're afraid of their neighbors and like all these other things, and they just end up in negative thought patterns, and that's not going to help them at all.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very important to control your thoughts and emotions. You know, it's your emotional and your state of being as well as your thoughts that determine your frequency. You know, that's what actually sets the tone for your vibration.
Yeah, the whole game changed when I figured that out. That's amazing.
And of course, you know, the stuff you put in your body, it's all a balance. Yeah.
Yep. So before you mentioned Atlantis and ancient Egypt, the real ancient Egypt, and Sumer, and maybe even Kemet and stuff like that, and the Mayans, those civilizations ascended their physical body, or they got wiped out, or what happened to them?
Good question. From what I understand, some of them left the Earth on their starships to other solar systems, and some of them actually went into the inner Earth and continue their existence there, and they still live up to today. They've been living there for thousands of years, and they're still alive because they're races that are 5th dimensional entities who have lifespans of 100, you know, a few thousand years, you know, 70,000 years, 100,000 years. So they're still around, and they're just waiting for us on the surface world to enter the 5th dimensional reality so that they could reunite with us. And then similar to the galactic community, you know, the galactic community is not going to intervene openly because they have to obey the prime directive of non-interference. But they are waiting for us to reach this level of mentality on a collective, this level of consciousness, so that we could be ready to reunite with our galactic star brothers and sisters.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a family of light, you know.
Yeah, they're rooting for us for sure.
Yeah, they are.
This is Dolores always used to talk about. This is the greatest show in the universe. So that brings me to my next question.
Sure.
I always used to think, why is Earth so special? Does stuff like this happens in other galaxies, other dimensions, other universes, on other planets? Or Earth really is that special at this time in galactic history?
Yes, Earth is a very unique planet, not only in our universe, but in the multiverse. Reason being is because due to this collective war with AI that's been going on for actually 40 to 50 billion years, because I mean, this is a war that was actually that had existed before the development and creation of our universe, and this is a war that actually transferred into our universe when our universe came into being. Due to this cosmic war against AI, due to the fact that this AI became so powerful and it was destroying thousands of galaxies in these different universes, because it managed to penetrate these other universes. The universes came together in a council to see how they were going to put an end to this cosmic virus, as they would call it. And they came with a solution, and the solution is the combining of all these universes' energies and celestial genetics into one spot in one genome to see if they could develop something that will be super powerful, because it's the combination of all these different universes coming together. So representatives from different universes met in council, and they decided to create a universe that was going to be the amalgamation, the potpourri, the melting pot of the multiverse. And then within that universe, they decided to create the galaxy that was going to be the melting pot, the potpourri of the multiverse. And then within the galaxy, they created Earth. So from the beginning, Earth was intelligently crafted by design, very to the detail. And it became known as our intergalactic exchange center of information, or the hub of the multiverse, when it was still operating under the Council of the Light before it was intercepted by the Draco AI Collective. And so to the galactics, Earth is a living library as a result of that. Earth contains all the genetics, all the seeding, the flora and the fauna from millions and millions of universes in one planet. So it is a showcase planet, people, and it happens to be the most important planet in the multiverse. And that is the reason why all the Federation councils, not only within our galaxy, but from billions of galaxies, have joined forces, are coming here at this time to witness, the greatest shift in cosmic history. But not only that, but they're also they're also waiting for us to ascend, because once we ascend, we're going to have the potential to bring an end to the war everywhere in the multiverse, to end the AI war, the AI collective. Because remember, that was part of the original plan. So billions of years later, here we are as the hope of the universe. As they call us, the new royalty. We are the new royal race, because we're the mixture of all the races in one genome. So our power is beyond, and that explains why we're only using 4% of our full genetic material, because the other 96% is untapped potential, to the point where, even just tapping into 12, 15, 20% is enough to give us X-Men godlike mutant powers.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, for sure. That's awesome. And that's coming for sure. Dude, that got me fired up, man. I can feel it in my soul. I get the goosebumps when all your cells and your soul knows that you're resonating with something that's capital T true, and it really fucking rings true. And that was awesome. But it just gives me so much gratitude to be alive in this time. And like I said, so many people complain because they see chaos going on in this three-dimensional realm. But once you know all that information, that's why this book, $20 will change your life for this book, because just knowing that gives you purpose in this life, in this dimension, in this incarnation, and it keeps you going. It shows that we are that important to not only ourselves and our family and our community and our country and our planet, but to the freaking galaxy, man. And the whole
cosmos,
to the whole cosmos, bro. Like, that's so fucking important. To me, that fires me up so much, that we get to be, warriors, so to speak. All these, metaphors that we like to use just because language is limiting in this form. But I love it, man. I'm grateful to be in this war, for sure.
Yeah, people, we have been giving the most sophisticated biological vehicles that every other species out there, every alien covets, because our gene was also installed with what is known as the God Source. In other words, that is the key to unlock the 12th dimensional Stargate into the third dimension that leads into the mother universe, or into what we call the central universe, the motherverse. And so the AI is after that. So in a way, it was like a Trojan horse plan by the good guys to not only give us the God source within our genetics, but to also install a defense mechanism. So when this AI made its presence into this world, which is what the Cabal is now doing, they're building the infrastructure of this coming technological singularity, right? The Internet of Things, right? They're creating a physical, vehicle in which this 11th dimensional entity could come and download and operate in, will be destroyed as a result of that defense mechanism. And when that happens, it's going to act as an EMP that is going to be spread across the entire multiverse, from our solar system to our galaxy to our universe to other universes. Just boom, destroying all the AIs that are out there, causing harm and trouble for the biological species. Yeah.
So we're not going to say that all technology is bad, right? We're going to say that everything is in balance, and you want to keep grounded with nature and true source, but we can still use technologies that we are now. It's just the downloading of our consciousness and merging with the technology and the AI that's the problem, right? It's
transhumanism is the path of the this Luciferian. I mean, that's the ultimate agenda, people. Well, it's not about enslaving us into this one world system. It's about converting us into a machine.
That's the first step.
And that's the AI solution to access our God source.
That's what I was just gonna ask. So they think if they get all our collective consciousness downloaded into the AI and use all our collective energy, they can burst through that glass ceiling of the 11th dimension and get into the 12th. That's basically their evil plan.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it seems like we have the advantage in every single way possible.
We do have the advantage. And in a way, we've already won the war.
Right, that's what I always tell people.
Who are piercing into different future timeline scenarios.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's extra special stuff. That's great then. Well then, let's fucking celebrate. Every day is a celebration then. Keep holding the light, keep standing our ground, and keep going, because the work that I see in 3D that a lot of people have to do is just acceptance and letting go, because they know so many loved ones are taking the juice and they're living in low vibrational frequencies and they're marching to the beat of whatever TV channel and politicians tell them. But they got to let that shit go, man. That's what I keep telling people. Like, there's so much ahead that is so beautiful that they can't even realize. And some of them people that are awake and aware might not even make the shift if they keep holding on to those attachments of lower vibrational stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. And from what I understand, they're going to be recycled into another third-dimensional planet to continue learning their third-dimensional lessons. And that planet is called Harkabolis. From what I understand, it exists in a different parallel universe. So those that don't make the shift here in the new Earth are going to be recycled into a different universe.
Which we have before, so not necessarily end of the end.
No, it's not the end. It's just it's almost like what a harvest is. Those that are ready to ascend are going to take the ascension, and those that are not are going to be recycled. However, those that are, taking the, are going to be eventually transferred into an alternative universe that is being developed through CERN.
Yes.
Right now, as I speak, in order to live in a type of world where the AI is just going to be taking, it's going to be controlling everything.
I've seen that several times in deep meditation. It's an ugly place, that.
Yeah, but that universe is going to be separate. That's what we call the timeline split. People have been talking about this timeline split. So there's going to be various Earths. We're going to have like 3 different types of timelines that are going to be splitting. We're going to have the ascending timeline, the organic timeline. We're going to have the middle timeline, where you're going to have both, meta-humans, or, humans with super godlike powers, and regular people, and then AIs, or cyborgs. And then you're going to have the third one is going to be the timeline where it's just going to be AI tyranny. And at that point, humans are just gradually going to just become cyborgs. And they're going to lose their soul, for those that go into the third timeline.
Very interesting. I never heard of the second timeline, where there's a mixture of where we're more advanced, but then there's also cyborgs at the same time. That's like some Terminator shit. Yeah, no. And in the middle timeline, that's when that's what's going to be giving us the idea of the superheroes. You're going to have regular people, and you're going to have the meta-humans, the organic, human angels, and then of course you're going to have the cyborgs and the AIs. So in that timeline, the meta-humans are going to be the ones that are going to be, protecting the non-meta-humans from the machines. Yes. Have you seen the Marvel movies and the X-Men movies and stuff, Ishmael? There's a lot of truth to that. It's all truth. They just put a little Hollywood in there and tell you it's a comic book, but that's what the fuck is happening. The guy who wrote Marvel Comics, he was an insider who had access to a lot of private information in the late 50s. And they told him he couldn't disclose any of it. And by the way, George Lucas in the late 60s also had access to some of this knowledge. Sure. So it's not like they just made it all up. I mean, when you think of the concept of the super soldier, we have super soldiers. In the 50s and 60s, they developed technology to enhance people genetically, biogenetically. We also have the idea of Wakanda, the concept of the Black Panther. We have societies that are cloaked from the surface, third-dimensional reality that exist on a different frequency and that are physical. Okay? Those are the Agarthians and the Shambhalans, and then there's Stargates everywhere, where it's like if you get too close to a Stargate and you go into the other side, you're going to see it, you're going to end up in a whole new different reality. Oh, yeah. So these Stargates are very real as to why, again, the war in the Middle East, that has a lot to do to that, it has a lot to do with that big Stargate that's over there. Big time. They want to control, they want to have access to other realms. Big time. So the whole concept of Thor, of the idea that there's, these guardians who live at the center of the universe and are guarding and protecting the 9 realms. Well, those are the High Council of Syrians. Those are the ones that are overseeing the entire, forces of light here in our galaxy. So every Marvel movie has a lot of truth in it. It's just, explained in a different way. Yeah. And also DC, DC is bringing back mythology, the concept of Wonder Woman. She's the daughter of Zeus. Well, it turns out that Zeus was Enlil. Enlil was the Anunnaki a Lord of the Command,
the Sky Command, you know, and then you had Enki, who was the Earth Lord, right, his half brother, and they were both what, the sons of Anu, who was the Niburian commander during those days before it was hijacked by his nephew Marduk, the son of Enki Poseidon. So all these names, these mythological characters that we read about in stories, these gods, all they are is a translation of these ETs that came to our Earth 500,000 years ago, commonly known as the Anunnaki. But their real name is that, you know, the Niburians. They are the Niburian Council that was working for the Federation before they were hijacked by the Draco.
Okay, the Niburians and the Anunnaki are the same species, you're saying?
Yeah, they're the same species. Yeah, they come from, it was a mixture of royal bloodlines that took place in the early history of our galaxy in an attempt to bridge the gap between the Draco lineage and the Michael lineage of the Lyrans to create a more powerful royal lineage.
Yes.
So, but what happened was, even within this new caste or hybrids, you know, there was many differences and many battles between their descendants, because some descendants inherited more of the Draco blood, and then some of them inherited more of the Lyran blood. So there was always family feuds all the way down to when they came to the Earth. You know, Enlil and Enki, for instance, they were always at war. And even their descendants. I mean, now the war between their descendants is the war between the descendants of Abraham through Enlil, Enlil-Sus, and then the descendants of Marduk, Belial, through Enki Poseidon. But unfortunately, our world's been under the control of the descendants of Marduk, Belial, you know, the Babylonian god, who is the son of Enki Poseidon.
And they can not only shapeshift, but reproduce with humans and humanoids as well, and continue that bloodline.
Yes, they actually did that in ancient times. They created, you know, different humans hybrids where they were demigods, part mortal, part immortal. So all those stories that we read about in mythology about these heroes of old, they're real, people.
Yeah, it's all real.
They're real.
That's awesome. That's why I love watching those movies, because you see it on so many different levels. Some people are like sucked into it and think it's all comics. And then some people are like, oh, that's so stupid. I take it to the next level. Like, I see it on the surface level as entertainment. And then I see those little nuggets of truth that they slip in there. Absolutely. And it's in so many movies. It's amazing. Have you seen the new, the Loki series for Marvel? Dude, they don't hide anything. It is overtly, bro, they call him, his character is called the Variant. And they keep talking about endless variants to end the war of the timelines. And they talk about the 3 timelines that you talked about. And they use, I'm sure you know about this, not only the cloning technology that they talked about, but they have some type of, I don't want to say time travel, but it's basically that, right? Like they have like time loop technology, essentially, where you can't physically go forward, but you could physically go backwards and change different timelines and stuff.
Well, that's what they're doing through CERN. It's called the Mandela effect.
Oh, that's what the Mandela effect is even called. Okay, so they can change history, and some people in our dimension are like, I remember that differently in history. And they just, but all they did was shift part of the timeline. Yes. Very interesting. Yeah, because they have so much advanced technologies, and even on Earth with just humans itself, we're hundreds of years behind what we should be because of the monetary system and debt in the banking and just the matrix that they've created. They hold us back from so much, because what Earth could be and what it's going to be, just for, I know you know this, but a lot of people, like, once the Tesla technology gets out there of free energy, we don't need any of this garbage that they're putting out there to pollute the Earth, as far as, you know, borders and wars and hatred, and more importantly, fossil fuels, and, you know, cutting down the rainforest and all this nonsense. We could have free energy everywhere without paying for freaking Wi-Fi and your electric bill.
And it'll be healthier.
Oh, and that's the beauty of it. It's gonna be healthier for sure. So I understand what you're saying. When you get to higher dimensions, not only do you live longer, but time is completely different as well. So the concept is hard to even imagine. But when we ascend to the 5th dimension, is there life extension there as well?
Yes, humans are going to, well, there's going to be different levels of upgrades or exaltation.
Okay.
For the most part, the majority of humans are going to be living for hundreds of years, you know, because they're still young souls. Those are what we call the new souls. And then the star seeds, which are the old souls that decided to incarnate at this time, they're going to be living for thousands of years. So to the ones that are going to be living for a few hundred years, they're going to appear as superheroes, as, you know, they're going to be like X-Men type people, because they're going to have access to these unlimited,
for sure,
these amazing abilities. Yeah. And
yeah,
then
X-Men is one of the coolest ones to talk about, because it literally means X-Men. You're no longer a man or a human, but you're ascending to the next thing. And all those powers they talk about, telepathy, controlling the weather, like, you know, Wolverine healing, like all that shit is real.
It is. So we're going to have 4 different categories. We're going to have the majority of people that are going to live for a few hundred years. We're going to have, you know, people that are kind of like wizards, healers, shamans, and they're going to be living for, you know, couple thousand years. And then you're going to have the 144,000, and those are going to be living for hundreds of thousands of years, and they're going to be appearing as gods to the other 2. And then finally, you're going to have the core, only about 100 individuals who are going to access their full power at 100%. So they're going to be multi-dimensional beings all the way up to the 12th dimension that are going to be operating here in physical form. So to the other 3, they're going to be appearing as, wow, those are like, you know, they're going to be like gods, but they're going to be so humble. They're not going to want to be worshipped as gods. You know, they're going to
I was just going to ask you that. They're going to be benevolent.
They're going to be very humble.
Yeah. Okay, good. Because if you don't ascend and transcend egoic thinking at that point, that's where shit gets squirrely. But it's going to be beyond ego, and they're going to be benevolent forces and very humble and not be worshipped. They're just going to use their powers for good.
Yeah, so the Earth is going to be existing in what we call the Harmonic Universe number 2, which occupies dimensions 4, 5, and 6. So they're going to be coexisting all at the same time here in the Earth plane, 4, 5, and 6.
Awesome.
And then those that are on the 7th dimension are going to be able to maintain physical form by lowering their frequency and appearing to those that are in the 6th dimension. And then if they want to appear to those in the 5th dimension, what they do is they just lower their frequency, and then they manifest physical form in the 5th dimension, and so on and so forth. Yes.
Awesome. And you can shift back and forth?
And you can shift back and forth, exactly.
Very cool. So that almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, you can maybe not even be so sad about losing your loved ones that get left behind, because if they don't die, you could always go and visit them. Essentially how spirits can visit us now, you can visit them in physical form and then still ascend to higher dimensions. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Well,
absolutely.
shit. This is nothing but good news today, Ishmael.
Yeah. It's going to be a multi-dimensional reality.
We've won the war, and we don't have to leave anyone behind. They just won't have magical powers, but that's okay, because everybody's on their own path anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fantastic.
And from what I understand, is those that are going to have these abilities are going to be so humble and so good to the point where they're going to establish, you know, they're going to restore the ancient mystery schools, but on a global scale, where those that don't have these abilities are going to be able to, you know, take part in this spiritual education so that they can learn how to harness that power eventually, you know, as we progress into the future. Yes.
Some Hogwarts shit, some Padawan Jedi training, like all that type of stuff, where it's advanced beings that showing younger souls who have potential and have the force within them. And then there's magical schools, like Jesus and Mary Magdalene had schools and shit like that, where they learned how to heal and do magical. I love saying alien and magic and words that trigger people, because people like yourself that get it don't even blink. And then it triggers normies one way or the other, good or bad. Either hopefully it helps them think a little bit more, because they've been lied to and poisoned since birth. So I like to have a lot of fun with this shit, because so many people are doom and gloom with this shit, that it's all just Lizzies are gonna fucking eat all the babies and we're all screwed and everything's over and the world's coming to an end and the world's coming to an end. But it's not really like that.
No, that's fear-based mentality, and that's the problem, people. We need to get out of that. But it's okay, because those older souls that are down here in human form like us, our frequency is more effective than those that are younger souls. So by us keeping the frequency at an elevated state, we actually control the collective of the all.
Even more, we got the team on our back a little bit.
Yes, even though the majority of the people are dwelling in fear, it has no effect, because we have a greater influence with the frequency that we emanate from our thoughts and emotions.
And that's beautifully said, because you can see that when you walk into a room. If you're intuitive and empathetic, you can kind of feel when everybody's low vibrational shit and it's just all talking about gossip and too much alcohol and all this stuff. I can kind of feel it. But in the same way, I can transmute it and change that shit, and I can kind of get the party going with just my energy and kind of shift the energy of a room. So you're talking about the same thing on a collective level.
Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome. So this is nothing but good news, my man. You're the bringer of good news. Everybody needs to fucking buy this book, because like I said, for $20, this is, to me, this is the coolest shit to talk about. Ancient civilizations and ETs. And the more you study it, you realize they're one and the same. And then the third thing to me would be religion, which is you studied more of that and you realize that's one and the same.
Not only that, but people that have already started reading my book, they're actually getting memories. When they read about the galactic history, they're getting memories of existing in these prior solar systems before incarnating here as a human.
I'm glad you said that
And
because that's why I'm looking forward to reading it. Because when I read, Bringers of the Dawn and a lot of Dolores' stuff and even Cryon's stuff and channelings. I don't know if you're familiar with Lee Carroll's channelings and stuff, but I'm like, I already know this shit. I'm like, you're reading it and you're like, yes, I have this information inside of me and someone else knows it. And then it's like coming back, you're downloading it from the collective versus learning some new shit.
Yep. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's why you're so important. That's why everybody needs to buy this book. And like I said, dude, that was so good for today. I think we should definitely do a part 2 because I'll get more questions down. I love the questions that you asked me for now. And hopefully maybe next time we'll do a Q&A because so many people are talking in the chat and I can't really see or keep up with it or whatever. So here, last question, because this one's important. As we've seen, religion and all these things start out as good things and then get hijacked by the powers that be and political traps and stuff. I'm sure you've seen 5D type of stuff and New Age spirituality type of stuff get hijacked as well. A lot of people
that's what they call the false light.
The false light. I was just getting to that. Worshiping false idols and following the false light, I was going to say.
Okay, so the difference is those that are channeling Galactic Federation commanders who are getting these downloads, and these commanders are giving you these downloads with the stipulation that, they're your saviors because you're going to them for this higher knowledge, and it is the false light. But when you connect, what I'm trying to tell people is it's best to connect with Source because you don't need these guides anymore. These ascended masters, they were great to work with at one point. But right now we're living in a time where you don't really need a channel, Ashtar or an ascended being. You just go directly to Source. Even though they do exist and they are benevolent, a lot of the dark, negative aliens are posing as good members of the Federation, and that's where the problem comes in, people. So it's best to go directly to Source.
Yes,
and it's simple. Meditation is the key.
Yeah, I was going to say, in meditation, I only fuck with my higher self and Source, which is kind of one and the same, when you know the whole game. But that's great information because so many people are trying to channel this and that can be hijacked as easy as anything else. The same way on this plane, like your ego will talk like your higher self and trick you into bad decisions. It's the same thing up there.
Absolutely.
So that was golden.
And we also have to have discernment, as to, what entities we connect with, because not all entities are playing the light. Some of them are actually posing as light bearers, people. So be careful, and one way to distinguish is if you feel it resonate in your heart, then they are of the light. But if you feel that feeling in the pit of your stomach, then they are of the dark. That's a very strong way to discern the difference between who is of the light and who is of the dark.
That is huge practical take-home stuff, man, because even that posing as the light, think of all people's favorite celebrities where they pretend to be benevolent, but to somebody with eyes that's awake, they're clearly satanic, evil creatures. That is the best take-home shit that we got from today is when you feel anything in this dimension or a download from somewhere else, if you feel it in the pit of your gut, that's usually your intuition telling you it's no good. And if you feel your heart opening up, and go towards that and trust it. And that's where intuition and discernment comes in.
And again, people, don't expect for the Galactic Federations to openly show up and save us. It's actually the other way around.
Yeah.
We are the ones that everyone's expected. We are the saviors. They're just here overseeing the ascension to make sure that we do it in a healthy and very peaceful manner.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because so many people are waiting for Jesus or an alien spaceship to come and save them, dude. It's up to us to keep raising our frequency and hold the light and, more importantly, collectively come together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nobody else is gonna. And I love how I always say that nobody else is coming to save you. It's up to you and to ascend yourself and stuff like that. But I love how you added it in. It's the other way around. They're rooting for us and counting on us so we can all join together.
Exactly, because we are the hope, people. We are those that have been prophesied about in all religious traditions, and all the galactics are counting on us, people. They're like this. They're just please, 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 because what we do here on this planet in the next 2 years is not only going to have an effect on the multiverse, but in every direction in time, both going forward and backward, and all collapsing, all the different timelines. So
yeah, that's
how
crazy
important it
thing.
is.
It's all throughout the galaxy and universe, and it's all throughout the dimensions, and it's all throughout time. So the
Exactly.
shit I'm doing with my hands doesn't make any sense because I only have three-dimensional space to work with. But you know what I'm trying to say. That's
Absolutely.
all. Because I've been into places in deep meditation where there is no, like there's other directions you can kind of turn. There's way more than three ways you can go with stuff. And time doesn't really exist. But those people, those beings that are beyond the veil watching this show are really rooting for us. And we've already won. So that is like the power of anything, the law of attraction and manifestation and stuff like that. No matter what, we always have to believe that we won anyway and act accordingly and vibrate towards that frequency. So that's what we got to start telling people is anytime people get down, just really go back into the inner work and meditate and really raise your vibration to more love, joy, and peace. I don't like to use the word enlightenment because we're going to get to that eventually, but on this plane, that's kind of a pretentious word. But bottom line is to get away from fear, guilt, and shame, which are the traps that religion and politics and media set up for you.
Most definitely, yeah.
Dude, we got to do this again. Everybody buy the book. The link is in Ishmael's bio. We'll do a part two, like I said, where I get questions from the audience or I write up some questions instead of just a chat. Because, like I said, we're really on the same frequency. And I got nothing but gratitude for you, man, and the work you're putting out. You're a big part of, liberating planet Earth and saving humanity, bro. And I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. It's an honor to be here as well. And thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. See you guys next time.